Hello guys, my name is Michael. Welcome to a new GTK tutorial. Today we are going to talk about frame properties and which property we can set on this frame. Some of them we are not going to talk about all possible properties, as you already know, but we are going to talk about different kind of properties. So let's see. Now, as you can see, our program, the way it looks now, we are creating a frame and then we are pointing it to the GtkFrame new function, passing null at its argument, and of course we are setting the window container where we're going to put a frame. Now I'm compiling and run it. As you can see, here is our window and here is our nice frame, and of course it is an empty one because we have no a label or widget or something set on it. Okay, so that being said, let us take a look at its documentation. So basically its description, as you already know, we are talking about is the frame widget is a bin that surrounds its child with a decorative frame and an optional label. So frame widget is a bin, this means a container. So that being said, you can use only one child inside it. That being said, let us move now to its properties right here where the GTKFrame is. GTKFrame, and as you can see we have 6 of them. Let us check the first one, which is the label. It says text of label, text of the frame's label. Well, as you already know, G object set our label, our frame, and then we are setting the label, and we are going to say my frame. Okay, now we are going to inform that our function that we are done with it by passing the last argument as null. And now, as you can see, we have our frame right here. It works fine. Okay, that being said, let us move to the next one. The next one, it is the label widget. We are going to let it at the last one. The next one, label xling. So but basically those two are linked kinds. So let's see. Let's use it, the first one, and we are going to set 0.0 as we already know. I'm going to compile it and run it. X means from left to right. It stays here because it's 0. If we put 0.5, it will be in the middle right here, and of course if you put it 1.0, yeah, I get a segmentation fault. No problem getting this segmentation faults. You learn something the way I learned too. So basically it is now on the right side. So what do we know? We know that this property takes parameter between 0 and 1. So I'm going to use 0.5 to have in the middle. Okay, the next one, let me click it to have it checked. It is from top to bottom, so that you better understand it. I'm going to use 0 again. Okay, let me clean the program a little bit like this. So basically having 0, this time it pushed down, like I said, from top to bottom. Maybe it is a little bit complicated to understand it, but this is the way I am explaining it. So basically when you set 0, it means it is pushed from top to bottom. When you use 0.5, it means you push it from top button only in the middle of the frame, and when you say 1, basically you said don't push it at all, let it above. So just call it like anything you want to, but me, I'm calling like that. So I let it now 0.5 so that it stays in the middle in both sides. And now let us move to the next one, which is the shadow type. This is a crazy thing. Let's see why. Okay, so we are setting the shadow type, and of course it says it defaults to GTK shadow etched in. Let us go a little bit here, and here we have what kind of shadow we can use. Basically, if you choose none, like already told you, then you get, of course, no frame anymore. I mean, you get that border off. So that being said, let me put it in, and let us go a little bit up here, not here, here, and here where the shadow type is, says, as you already see, retrieve the shadow, not a get one, sorry guys, set set shadow. Watch, sets the shadows type for a frame wherever it is drawn without GTK, of course, or with other value, a visible border. Okay, so value other than GTK shadow none are treated identically by GtkFrame. Okay, the chosen type is applied by removing or adding the .flat class to the CSS node name border. Okay, this with CSS it's another story and another video for something like this. So basically this is what you need to know. I wanted to go back, and now the last one is the label widget. Let us use it. It is the last property. So basically I'm going to say, instead of that frame, put my button there. Okay, now that label we are not going to use it, because we are going to use a button which we are going to create it, of course. GTK widget button. Maybe you are asking yourself why I'm doing this, because why I removed the button from the last tutorial so that I can create it again. You will see in a moment. I have a reason for this. So the way how I'm explaining the things is the way how you better understand them. So like I said, for setting this property we need to create a widget. So basically this widget, what we are creating now, we are going to change it a little bit. So this means our button which we are going to create it, create a button, it will be button GTK button new. Okay, watch, he gave me icon name. Just let us choose this. So we will have basically the icon name and the GTK icon size. Okay, let us move a little bit to this function. So let us call this function, and this function says returns a widget, of course, and takes two parameters. First one is the icon name, and the second one is the G icon size. Okay, so that being said, we need the icon names. We already talked about this, so at this point you should know how to check the icon names. When you need them, you just type icon naming specification. Okay, I wrote it wrong. I put specification now, and of course you get it. It is right here. and that means you choose a icon which you which you think that probably you need it. I don't know, let's see, what can I take? Flip, no. Whatever. There are so many here that you just name something which you, I don't know, let's see how many are. Oh, there are a lot of, as you can see, there are a lot of audio volume medium, muted, audio low, high, point, okay, network, workgroup, folder, remote. Let's use this one, whatever, why not. Okay, so that being said, this is our first icon, and the second one is a GTK icon size. So GTK icon size, and now you need to know which kind of them. Button, dialog. Let's see. Let's go back a little bit to our function. Where is it? It is right here. Right click on it, open it in a new tab, and we get this kind of possible things which we get. So the biggest here, as you can see, is the dialog, you see. So let's see, let's take this one because it is the biggest. Now we created the button, and before we choose to set the button somewhere, we just need to think for a little bit. We are not going to add it to some container because we are passing it to this property. So when we are setting property, we are setting basically this button. Okay, that being said, as you can see, here is our icon, and as you can see, works fine. It's a remote folder. It's showing here the wireless icon. Okay, so that being said, this is everything you need to know about frame properties. So basically these are the properties which you can set them, but those properties here are not all property which you can set on this. No, it's not. Remember, we are talking about object hierarchy, so this means you click here and you go all the way up. So this means we are working with frame, and now we are moving to GTK bin. Let's see, GTK bin has no properties, so we'll go back and go to the next one, GTK container. Here we have some properties. There are 3 properties, so let's call the first one, this one right here, and we are going to say add container properties, so that we understand it better. And now we can set the border to 50. Let's set it to 50 to see how crazy and big is this thing. Watch, you see how small it became now because we have that big border here. Okay, I'm going to set it to 0. Now the next one is the child, yeah, and says, watch, specify how resize events, specify here, can be used to add a new child to the container. Bam, this is something new, something we didn't used until now. Let me show you something. Let me show you a thing here. Before we move to this property, let me show you something. GTK container add, what this function actually means, or how do you treat it? You treat it like this. Call this function, and when you call this function, basically you have 2 widgets here. So this means the left widget, it is the parent, and the right one, it is a child. So basically, by you calling this function, you are setting a property of the window to set its child as frame. But there is also another way to do it, which means we are going to talk in a moment. So that being said, GTK container add, we are putting the frame inside the window, isn't it? Yes, it is. Now if I'm going to use this property, I'm going to use it like this. I'm going to set child, set the child property, and now watch, put the button as its child, and I'm going to remove this part here, and I'm going to comment this part. So this, what do we have here? We have created a frame with a null argument, and then we are setting its properties to this frame. By setting these properties, basically we are saying put the my frame as the name of the label, align x and y to 0.5. Once that you did that, set the shadow type, whatever, and then when you are done, I need that this frame has also a child, so put the button to be the child of the frame. So here you read it like this: button is the child of the frame. You will see in a moment what's the difference between doing right to left or left to right. I'm going to compile it, and as you can see, we have our frame and we have our button. The button is now not part of the frame, but it is a child of this frame. So basically, when I'm going to set now let's say g object set margin, sorry, button, and then margin, let's put it like 70, whatever, and of course null. You see better. You see, now you see the button better. What this means? This means you can do two things now. You can call GTK container add and put the button inside the frame like this. Let me comment this part here. You see, so basically now we said call this function and put this child inside this parent. Call this function, put this child inside this parent. So basically this is what you already learned until now. So this is the way how we were working. Now today we'll learn something new. Today we learn that we don't need this function to call it all the time, because once that we set properties, we can just say put this widget as a child to this parent. I repeat it, put this widget as a child to this parent. Once that you did that, it is the same thing like calling GTK container add. You see, it works fine. Now let's see the next one, resize mode. This is very interesting. Let us set it. Okay, and before we move with the next thing, we are going to read. Specify how resize events are handled. Read write. Default is GTK resize parent. Okay, so let us see in a new tab what this means. It means there are three kinds. There are resize parent. Let's go back. The default one is the parent. Okay, so resize it at pass resize request to parent. The next one is square resize on this widget, and of course this one is duplicate. So basically we have only two. So I'm going to call this thing. Do I need to know about this function? What do I need to know about this function? We can talk about this, and we'll probably talk about this in another tutorial, because we need some things to fix so that we get clear with this thing. But I want to show you something else, something which is not mentioned, not here, not here. So you know that it is a property, yes? So this means this property basically has almost a setter. So let us find this resize mode setter. So we are going up here, and we are going to search the resize mode, which is right here, and watch. GTK container set resize mode, which is the property, basically what we are trying to set it before, has been deprecated since version 3.12 and should not be used in newly written code. Resize mode are deprecated. Why? Because they are not necessary anymore since frame clocks and might introduce obscure bugs if used. So basically this property, let's go back, this property should not be used. This is what you need to know. It is not important what kind of defaults what, and just don't use it. Okay, so now let us go back to our GtkFrame, which is somewhere here. I think I closed too much. Of course, no problem. Let's go back to GtkFrame. Once that we are here, we go back to object hierarchy and we use GtkFrame properties. We saw that GTK bin has no properties. We are not going to use them. And we know that GTK container has properties and we use these properties. Now we can move up to the next one, which is the GTK widget, which is of course a thing which has a lot of properties. Whoa, a lot of them, whatever. Now there are some properties here which I don't know, let's see, pentable, I'm not interested now. No events, no, we're not going to catch events, expand or link, no, age expand, and so expand set, those things are not working here, so we cannot set them here. We are going to talk about it, how you can expand set, how you can set them by using a container like GTK grid, and there these things are good, but even there you will see later that it is better if you set, when you are working with more widgets inside of GTK grid, that it is important to set these properties better to the child directly and not to the grid itself, but we are going to come to this part anyway. So this means we are not going to use it. Has tooltip, yeah, okay, it's focus, margin, we already used it I think somewhere, yeah, okay, we set it to our button, we can set it to our frame too. This is not important. No name. Okay, if you want to set the name of us, parent. Whoa, that is good. Watch. This is a very important thing here. This is the opposite, if I can call it this, of the child. So let us see this property. Says the parent widget of this widget must be a container widget. So this is a good for us, isn't it? Yes, of course it is. Why? Because GtkFrame, it is a container widget. It is inherits it is a subclass of GTK container. So this means we can use this. But basically, because we can use this, we can make some things much better if you want to. So that being said, I'm going to set parent, and this time the parent will be yes, the window. So now I'm going to kill this part here, and now what did we said? The button is the child of the frame. You read it right to left. The window is the parent of the frame. Okay, so again, the button is the child of the frame and the window, it is the parent of the frame. Let's see. Of course, you see it works fine, and we don't need this call anymore. Cool, isn't it? You see, we just reduce our code to less function which you need them. Let me remove this part because we don't need it, at least not here. And let me put this one here and say with get properties. So now we found something else. We found that we don't only can set a child to this thing, we can also to this widget, we can also set its parent. So basically, if you are not sure, just remember right to left, button is the child of the frame, window is the parent of the frame. So always take it from the right to the left, and then you can remember it better. I remember it like that. So this is the parent thing. Yeah, there are of course a lot of other things. Sensitive, which you can apply it defaults to true. So basically, because this one defaults to true, we are going to set it to false. Setting to true has no effect. And of course, you see everything's dead. One thing you need to remember. Remember, everything you set, every property which you set on a widget can affect its child or its childs. So just remember. Now you are setting, or we are setting its sensitive to false. By doing this, we killed not just the frame, we also killed the button. Okay, so just remember, that's the reason why sensitive is set to true at default. Okay, so I think this is, yeah, okay, tooltip, we already know what this is. We can set it also just to have more properties here. Let's give it a name, like this is the frame. One thing that's important also, the frame takes all the place all over, so this means setting this tooltip. It's a very important thing which we can talk. Setting this tooltip here means it affects starting with a frame until inside to its middle point. What I mean, watch, I go here, watch one pointer, it says this is a frame. Okay, I go in here, says again this is a frame. I go here, says again this is a frame. And now I go to the button, it says of course this is a frame. So basically, if you need to set it so that works, just copy this part here and go all the way up here where we are setting these settings to the button, and you say this is the button, you see, and now the button has its own tooltip. Watch, this is the frame, this is the frame, this is the frame, but this is the button, this is not the frame, this is the frame, and this is the button. Okay, remember, this is the way how you are playing with these things. Okay, so basically we learn again new things, we learn again. Here we don't need to watch because this is most of them, they are deprecated and so on. You can check them yourself. It is like I said, and I say it again, as a homework for you. Every time when you create a widget, every time when you set some properties to this widget, like we did here, you see, this is the widget, its properties. These are properties which we got from container, which is from where the frame inner hits, which is from where the frame subclass is, and of course both of them, they are subclass of the GTK widget. So basically we took these 2-3 properties from there, and now we have way too much properties here. But we have more properties than the frame itself has. So why they are so less here, it is somewhat clear. That's the reason why it stays here, the object hierarchy. Okay, just remember, that's the reason why it stays there, because it helps you when you set property and you say here, okay, I go there, I see I have these properties. Okay, so that's all. I mean, I cannot set nothing else. Before you go thinking to that, just go to object hierarchy and watch those things here, and then after that you will notice that there are a lot of properties which you can use them from container, widget, and so on, based off which properties you which widget you are using. Now we have a nice and clean program here. As you can see, the only function which were called here are 3, even if this one is different. We are creating a window, we don't call another function when we are working to this function. Then we are creating a button. Basically you can take this part here and move it down here so that you have something different to understand it. So now watch, we are creating a window, we are calling only a function, we're creating a button also without using another function and so on. So basically we have only 3 calls. Last calls are not made with let's say default functions which we already learned until now, like for example in our case GTK container add. We learned today some faster way and less coding, less less lines. Of course, if you use it like this, it will be the same as calling at this line that function. But if you do something like this, where you probably want to set 2 properties on one line, then this is another story. Now you have much less code. But me, I like it to have them all of them all into one line, so that when I'm searching something, I just see it clear. And of course, we learn those 2 new properties which you can work with them. We learn about parent and we learn about child. We learn that we read it all the time from right to the left, so that it is much easier for us. The button is the child of the frame, the window, it is the parent of the frame. Okay, so that being said, it is enough for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you like it, please subscribe, share with your friends and neighbors, and until next time, see you guys.